we got a Music Monday. This is just a fun one to end the show today because it is Monday. I acknowledge Music Monday on Mondays to some extent. Here's a Music Monday story for you, Krish. Rolling Stones threatened to sue Trump over So this just happened. You see this all the time. Krish, I know you're not like a big music guy, but you listen to some. Stones or Beatles?
Oh, that's tough.
It is tough.
I think if I go full catalog, I'd say Beatles.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's So for years I was a Stones guy. I was a Let It Bleed guy over a Let It Be guy. I don't know if anyone else says that. I might be the only guy who freaking says that. But
no, I've never heard anybody else describe it like that.
That's probably for the best. But yeah, But as the years have gone on, I'm slightly more Beatles. And I just, because the Beatles, it's like they had such a smaller recording career in comparison.
Right.
And we're still catching up to them. We're still catching up to the freaking Beatles. I mean, the stuff that they did with a classical producer and an 8-track, we're still freaking catching up to it. It's amazing. It's like there was the Beatles and we're still trying to catch up. 50 years and counting, still trying to fucking catch up to it. Whereas the Stones, and I love the Stones. Like this is not, and the Stones were very innovative in their own right. I'm not taking anything away from them, but the Stones were these outlaw dudes who were still kind of geeky. Like they were kind of like that's the beauty of it, man. Like you look at Mick Jagger and you look at Keith Richards and like they are the kings of cool in so many ways, even at like 70 something years old.
Right. Everybody wants to be like them.
But when you break it down, there was a point in time when they were still these nerdy kids in an underground cafe listening to these blues records from America. Right. That's like the chess club, you know, like, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I'm just being honest. That was a nerdy thing to be into, and that was very beautifully captured in what was the Elton John movie, Rocket Man, the Rocket Man, which was a really fun movie. I enjoyed it a lot. Where they showed Elton John, a young Elton John, before anyone knew who he was, with the lyricist Bernie Taupin, who became his lyricist, and they were in that. I don't know. Did you see the movie?
I have not. Okay. But you're not gonna like. It's not gonna stop me from watching it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
This is not a spoiler by any means. This does not spoil anything. But they're sitting in the cafe. You know, it's just a scene where they're sitting in the cafe talking about working together. So it's, you know, I mean, you know, that's gonna happen because it happened in real life. Right. But they're geeking out over blues music, American blues music. And people just look at like, what's wrong with these dorks, right? And that's because, that was like a nerdy thing. These were underground records from a different country overseas. You know, they didn't have the internet to find this stuff. You really had to dig hard for it. You had to be an enthusiast about it. You had to go to cafes that sought it out to play it. It was a nerdy thing. And at one point in time, Keith and Mick we're just these nerdy dudes going, and Brian Jones were just these nerdy dudes going, we really like this stuff. It's neat. And John Lennon, same thing, nerding out about skiffle. And then they were like, we're going to speed it up. We're going to rock it out. We're going to grow our hair out and we're going to fucking change the planet. And that's what these bands did. But
that's always like when you kind of learn that sort of stuff, because that's always my big thing with music was like I didn't get into the Stones until I got into college. That's really when I got into.
It took you that long?
It took me that long. Yeah. I'm
Chris.
I'm weird and I'm an immigrant, so that's my excuse.
All right. I can accept that.
I had you know, that this is like one of the good things that my dad did is like he had the huge Beatles anthology, which it was like this 8-disc thing that, so I would listen to that a bunch, and then once I started listening to that, it became very clear like how certain bands that I was listening to all throughout like high school were very clearly influenced by the Beatles. And then it's like going back and listening to that original stuff of like where that, and then what, you know, as I kept growing older and I got into the Stones and I got into you know, these other bands, like I got into very deep into Led Zeppelin when I was a freshman in college too, is like you go back and you listen to all the blues stuff. Yeah, like, oh, that's where this comes from. Yeah, and it's like but that's what they were doing too.
Yeah, well, Led Zeppelin especially. It's just like, I mean, when you look at you know, when you look at like those earlier Zeppelin recordings and you really listen to the guitar, and then like you go back, you listen to like Robert Johnson or someone like that, or Howlin' Wolf or someone like that,
Yeah.
and you listen to those guitar riffs that they had in their songs, it's basically like Led Zeppelin was sitting there with distortion and with pot, and they freaking slowed it down and drew it out and made these beautiful sounds. And that's what it's all based on. It's all based on the blues guitar. It can all be traced back to the blues guitar. But Trump doesn't get it. That's the thing. Rolling Stones threatened to sue Trump over use of their songs. Now, so the Rolling Stones are threatening President Trump for legal action. They're saying that they didn't want him to use their song. Here's what's interesting. Here's the song you use. You can't always get what you want.
Oh, no.
But if you try sometime, you get what you need. So guess what? I have a little bit of a personal story to that song. So I got married in March, and that was the song for the mother-son dance.
Oh.
Because when I was a kid, my mom would sing that to me when I wanted something that I wasn't, you know, like if I'm like, I want some ice cream, and she's like, you just had ice cream and I'm not Nancy Pelosi, you know, whatever it may be. Like whenever my mom had to tell me I couldn't have something, she would sing that to me, and it was like a fun joke. And I love the song. I mean, I got, you know, I was introduced to music at a very young age, and I really, you know, was really into classic rock when I was like 6 years old. And that was one of the songs I loved a lot. I really connected with Jethro Tull, which was kind of random for such, I mean, that I guess I had a good attention span for a kid. Cause like it's like a progressive rock band. Some of their songs are like 6 minutes long and shit. Like, but I loved it. I mean, I just thought like when I first heard the riff to Aqualung, which again, blues guitar.
Yep.
I thought it was one of the coolest freaking things I ever heard in my fucking life. I like, I was like, it blew my mind. I mean, as a kid, and I still get chills whenever I listen, like just really sit down and listen to that song. But anyway, Trump probably doesn't even know who Jethro Tull is. Honestly, if I had to take a guess, I bet he does not know who they are. And that's not, you know, I'm guessing his musical palette is not that deep. I could be totally wrong. I mean, maybe Trump is like maybe that's like the one point of connection I would have. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's really into music, and it's like, really, you're really just, and he's just like, my favorite Pixies album is Surfer Rosa, and it's like, whoa, where did this come from? Are you, really? You're just like, I enjoy when I lived in Manhattan. I always would go to the Lower East Side to check out what was going with anti-folk. And I called Kimmy Dawson years before she went out on her own, even before the Moldy Peaches. Like, holy shit, Trump? What? Does anyone else know this about you? Like, maybe it's like when Hunter S. Thompson talked to Nixon about football, and that was like the one.
That's like the only thing they had.
Like their thing. I was just like, he's a bastard of a man, but he knew a lot about football. Like it's like Trump's thing. I'm sure that's not the case, but it'd be funny if it was. It'd be cool if really music was Trump's thing. Like he's like, did you ever really dive into the Stones deep cuts where they did the covers of all that Howlin' Wolf stuff? Like, whoa, you really? I have all of it in vinyl. Like, all right, you're still not a good dude at all.
But seems like you got good musical taste.
Somehow.
That's crazy.
All right, so you can't always get what you want. He was using it, which is a weird song to use. You can't always get what you want. Just so you know, if you elect me, you're not going to get all those promises I made in 2016. I didn't do any of those things, but I did give my rich friends a tax cut. So there's that. So vote for me anyway.
Which was what we needed.
So they go, this is nothing new for Republicans, by the way. And this isn't anything new limited to Trump, but he's also gotten cease and desist from Tom Petty, the estate of Tom Petty.
Yeah.
They used I Won't Back Down, which it's so, well, because this goes beyond, I mean, Florida, which keep in mind, Tom Petty, Gainesville, Florida guy. I don't think he lived there his whole life, but he's from there. And or I believe he's from Florida. I don't know if he's specifically from Gainesville. I know he spent a lot of time in Gainesville. I think that's where he's from. But they actually named that Stand Your Ground law, you know, after, you know, because that's in the song I Won't Back Down. He says, I'll stand my ground. So I mean, isn't that terrible? Like, isn't that terrible?
Oh, man.
Like, the point of that song is not you can shoot an unarmed person. That's not what that song's about. I promise.
Yeah.
That's not what that song is about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad. It's taken such a beautiful song and reinterpreting it in such an ugly way. And I, you know, I still love that song because I'm not gonna let you know, people steal it from the listener. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna let you ruin this song. Just like it's like, you know, when people did, there was that like when they did that Christian adaptation of Hallelujah, that was wrong because it's like, you know what? If you want to do your own song, that's fine. If you want to have your song, you know, praising Jesus because you're a Christian, that's totally fine. That's your business. All power to you. And there's a lot of power in music, and I applaud that. But this song was specifically meant to be for everybody, and it's not meant to be for Christians or for Muslims or for Jewish people or for whoever else. It's supposed to be for humans.
Yeah,
that's the theme of that song. That song is a true love song. It celebrates it's a beautiful song. It celebrates the bitter tragedy of what it means to be human, and that despite all the ugliness in the world, we can still love each other. And that's amazing. And that's the only thing I believe in is love. That's the only thing I will ever believe in. And it's a true testament to the power of humanity. And who knows, maybe there is something beyond us. That's my creed. And, you know, although by definition, I am an atheist, but whatever, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole right now. But, you know, so to kind of assign that a religious creed is wrong. But guess what? You don't get to take that song from everyone else. You don't get to claim that. You don't get to have it. Similarly, you know, policymakers in Florida, they don't get to take this Tom Petty song. And apparently Trump can't even play it. Trump can't even play the song. And then Neil Young lashed out at Trump for rocking in the free world, which and Neil Young has allowed that song to be used for other things. So this is a goofy fact that will serve you in life in no way whatsoever, Krish, but it's something that my short term has retained. Michael Moore, when he did Fahrenheit 9/11, or was it Fahrenheit 9, or was it? No, it was Fahrenheit 9/11. That was like the big Bush one.
Yeah.
He wanted to use Won't Get Fooled Again during the end credits. And Pete Townsend kind of was like, you know, that's not really the point of this song. I don't really feel like it's a good fit. I'm certainly not against what you're saying, but, and I don't know where Pete Townsend's personal politics are. I know that I think Roger Daltrey is like kind of right leaning, or maybe I don't know. It's not important, but like, but Pete Townsend, for whatever reason, was like, I just don't feel like that's a good fit. And he released a statement where he says, like, I just don't think it's a good fit for that kind of a film. Like that, you know, that song's not really supposed to be, although it sounds like it's about electoral politics, but I don't know, whatever. You know, for whatever reason, he felt like that song wasn't a good fit. So they ended up using Rockin' in the Free World instead, which was a great fit.
Yeah.
That was a great fit. That was a great fit for the end of that movie. So
yeah. Do you feel like this sort of stuff is always like a bit of a bastardization to the artists? You know what I mean? Like to take their songs and use it in this like bizarre context that they 100% didn't, like to take like protest songs and then kind of warp it to be like, you know, coming out for a dictator or something. Like it's just like,
I don't know if anyone's done that, but yeah, that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a hyperbolized example, but you know, it would be like if you know, like we talked about Scott Walker using like a Rage Against the Machine song. It's just like, you're the guy, man. You're the guy that they're yelling about.
Are you thinking Paul Ryan, or did Scott Walker listen to them too?
No, I am thinking You're
thinking, okay.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say,
it's Paul Ryan. Yeah.
Okay.
Like when he said that, I was just like, dude, like you're everything that they sing about and they don't like. Like it's just, so I kind of, every time that sort of stuff happens, I'm like, is that kind of like a bastardization? Like, are they kind of doing that on purpose to?
Well, the interesting thing is the way our political system is set up in the United States. And this isn't just Republicans. This is Democrats too. This is the entire system. You know, art is a non-desirable. You know, I mean, there has never been that kind of true olive branch to the creative class really taking part in electoral politics. They'll let you play a rally. They'll let you do a benefit. They'll take the money you raise. They'll use your song. But as far as really bringing you into the fold, really letting you be a true representative, our system's not set up this way. And there's a reason why creatives, they do not have careers as staffers. It doesn't happen. At least not true creatives. I mean, maybe creative to the point where they can edit a video or something like that. Sure, you need some techies and stuff like that. But like true, actual, like this person was a writer or a poet or whatever, it doesn't really happen unless they're already kind of dabbling in that world anyway. And that is by design.
Yeah. Mm.
So it's it's an interesting thing. But yeah, I think you should only be able to use someone's song if they approve of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, you are like, that is their brand. That is their song. And if you want something like political power, you know, I mean, those songs like really do shape your message in so many ways. You know, I mean, it matters what you're what's playing when you're walking up to that stage. And, you know, it's saying something if, you know, geez, it's saying something if Kid Rock is playing versus Killer Mike.
Right.
That's saying something. That's
right.
saying something big time. Or Hank Jr. is playing versus, you know, I mean, that's saying something. Well, they're the same. I think Toby Keith is a little, yeah, well, they're both, I don't think Toby Keith is as nuts as Hank Jr.
No.
I mean, I'm not a fan of either.
No, I'm not either.
I think Toby Keith is a little more like, if you had to have a conversation with one of them, Toby Keith would at least.
I'd be able to hang with Toby for a bit.
You'd be able
one beer.
You'd be able to find some commonalities. You'd be able, and I feel like Toby Keith, he's that kind of guy, like how Anthony Bourdain is. I'm not comparing Toby Keith to Anthony Bourdain. I'm saying what Anthony Bourdain used to say, where he's like, I was able to push him a little bit, and I got him as much as I could. Like when Anthony Bourdain, whenever he would talk to people that were completely different from him politically, he'd be like, I was able to. Toby Keith's that kind of guy where like I was able to. I got him on a few where he's like, okay, all right. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think that Hank Jr. would just be like, and you'd be like, all right, I got to go. Can I hang out with your dad or your kid? Talk about skipping a generation. Your dad was awesome. Your kid makes some pretty good music. You're fucking nuts. Really skip. And even his kid's like, I think my dad should just not talk about politics. I think it's better if my dad just keeps it to himself. But like Hank III has said that. Where he's like, just my dad should really stay out of this.
Hank Jr.'s like, let me tell you, I got some thoughts.
I mean, that's hard. It's your dad. You don't want. It's like, you know, I love my dad, but geez.
Geez, I wish he would.
Oh boy. So there you go. Rolling Stones might sue Trump. Here's what needs to happen, Krish. The Rolling Stones, they sued Trump. Trump's like, I don't want to be sued by the Rolling Stones. Again, I'm a big music guy. I have all the deep cuts on vinyl.
I'm a big fan.
And the Rolling Stones are like, all right, well, either we sue you or you and the entire federal government of the United States has to go to Iran as prisoners.
And turn yourselves in.
You have to all turn yourselves in, and then we'll drop the suit. Keith, Mick, you guys can be the heroes of the world. You can save the freaking world right now.
Yeah.
It's all in your hands. No pressure.
Really what they would be telling Donald Trump is sometimes you can't always get what you want.
Boom.
You just can't.
Boom. Perfect.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and